Pressure point.
Episode 20. How are you, big man? It's a big milestone, isn't it?
Yeah, really good, champ. It's been it's massive. I can't believe we've made it this far. How was your weekend? What'd you get up to?
Oh, mate, I just what can we do at the moment in Melbourne? It's pretty bleak. Just stuck inside, not doing too much. But obviously, I was watching the Blues on Saturday night, and Jack Newnes sinking one from 50 out right on the boundary line to win us the game. So that was definitely the highlight of my weekend. But I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit later. But
I'm sure there's plenty to come about that. Don't worry.
How was yours? Did you watch the Tigers? Obviously.
I did watch the Tigers on the Monday night. It was good. The last game of the Festival of Footy. So that's it for now. No more football during the week, which would be different. Never thought I'd say that. But yeah, no, other than that, it was good. Just like I said, watch the footy and not much else can be done, really.
That's it. Well, yeah, as you said, the footy frenzy is over. I know last night felt a bit weird not having footy on for the first night in 3 weeks.
20 odd days.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit different, but I think we're only for a couple of weeks anyway. We're getting back to some sort of normality with the footy, and then I think like a mini frenzy is coming towards the end of the season as well. So plenty of footy to get through, but we'll get stuck straight into it. So the big issues from the weekend, really, nothing different. Umpiring, same old, isn't it?
Oh, shocking again. To touch back on the Carlton game, it was brought up massively for the Carlton-Freo game, some of the decisions, but just all over the round for every team. I don't know how much more we can talk about this issue, but it keeps coming up every week, so I feel like we should keep bringing it up, but it's just getting almost worse. Yeah,
it is ridiculous. I don't want to... I mean, like, the Carlton game is probably the one that I did watch closely. Probably the most... the one I watched, the most of during the week, and the ones that came out from that were terrible. Even the Jack Newnes one at the end, there was a couple of contentious ones through there, and it's just ridiculous. Just wonder what's going on with these the messaging that they're getting from the AFL and the interpretation of the rules and everything. It's getting ridiculous, and we sound like a bit of a broken record now, just talking about this every week, don't we?
Yeah, it's getting a bit repetitive, but as I said before, if it keeps happening, I mean, I guess you get to kind of touch on it a little bit each week because it's not getting any better.
No. So, but hopefully, as we said a few weeks ago, hopefully, next season they just settle the rules down a bit, and hopefully that helps the umpiring as well for next season. But I think this season we're just going to have to put up with a bit of this garbage and hope for the best. But yeah. Enough for the umpires for now. Anyway, it grinds my gears too much. Another new flag favourite though coming out from the weekend, the Geelong Football Club, and they absolutely dismantled the premiership favourites previous to them in Port Adelaide.
Well, we called it last week. We did say if Geelong gets up that they'll be the new flag favourites, and we'll touch on them all when we talk about the game itself. But they dismantled is the perfect word for it. They tore them apart.
Well, they didn't just get up. Yeah, they absolutely smashed them. And as I said, we'll get into that game a bit more in the review. But the Cats are looking very, very good, and arguably, probably the team to beat. Definitely the most informed team at the moment. So it's scary stuff. A recent thing that did come out in the news was the Tom Lynch, Mitch Robinson abuse. That's sort of, nothing coming from Tom Lynch, but Mitch Robinson's definitely given Tom Lynch a bit of a serve, hasn't he?
Yeah, which, look, I'm all for a bit of banter in footy. I like that. I just think it depends which player it's coming from, and it's very rich for Mitch Robinson to be talking shit. The word he used, actually, to describe Tom Lynch was a wanker, which, to be fair, Mitch Robinson, for a bloke that gets into fights at music festivals and probably doesn't have the best MRO history going around for all the striking that you've done in the past, probably not the best person to be calling someone else a wanker. And let's not mention how, you brought this up to me a couple of weeks ago. He was talking about how fans are abusing him and sending death threats and stuff like that. And, he goes, it's, people, we shouldn't be abusing players. And then you come out and call someone a wanker. Well, you're calling the kettle black there a little bit, isn't it, Mitch?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that he'll probably listen to this, but if he does, yeah.
No, he's a big fan.
Definitely, yeah, big fan of the podcast. But he's, I think he probably should have chosen a better choice of words. Definitely, I'm happy for you to talk about the hit and the you didn't get suspended. That's fine. But coming out and calling a player a wanker when you're probably not the most clean-cut person yourself, it's a bit rich. Yeah,
absolutely. I think just because it came from Mitch Robinson, everyone's just like, oh, here we go. He has no leg to stand on. But no, I think he probably makes a point in saying, Tom Lynch, left a sinking ship of the Gold Coast to chase success at Richmond. I think he's not the first person to say that about Tom Lynch, that's for sure. But yeah, just for him to carry on like that and then call him a wanker, I think he just needs to I think his form's been down lately and I think he's just a bit frustrated and things. So, if you're listening, Mitch, just keep that to yourself next time, champ.
Maybe stop throwing mouth guards mid-game.
Yeah, exactly right.
More about chasing the footy. So anyway.
But that does lead on to to the MRO issues. So Tom Lynch got 2 separate fines from the weekend. Probably deserved to get suspended for at least one of them, don't you reckon?
Yeah, look, I'm obviously stoked that he didn't get suspended. I want to see him play every week. But look, if for 2 separate incidences, he's come away with only a $2,000 fine. For whacking someone in the guts, you probably do deserve at least a week there. They're only because they're trying to stamp out punches and, it doesn't matter if it's to the body, the head, wherever. They're trying to stamp that out, especially off the ball, and to let him get away with it. I don't know what kind of message that sends, especially because only a couple of weeks ago he got away with, can't remember which player it was, but the Brisbane Lions, he pushed someone's head into the ground and got away with that as well. Yep. So, he's had a couple of close ones he probably could have been suspended for. And I think this one probably was the tipping point for a lot of people in terms of, when is enough in terms of striking other players?
Are the superstars getting protected?
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? It does look like it, for sure.
I feel like if that was anyone else, well, not anyone else, but like someone that, not at Tom Lynch's level, do you reckon they probably would have been suspended for that?
Yeah, I think so. But I was reading the definition of or how they adjudicate these decisions, and at the moment, if it's considered low impact, intentional and low impact because he hit him in the body. It was a body shot and he didn't come off the ground. He never had to leave the ground and he wasn't injured or anything like that. So it's considered low impact, intentional, and that only warrants a fine. But I think it's the ruling that needs to be looked at more so than the actual decision. Because I think, if the ruling's just going to allow body shots and call them low impact or because it's in the body, not the head, then that's half the problem right there. So I think that needs to be looked at before a singular decision gets looked at, because that'll change the game as a whole rather than just the outcome. Because then otherwise it's outcome based, which probably isn't the way to look at it. Yeah,
for sure. All right, well, we'll get into the games then from round 12. So it started way back on Thursday night between Sydney and GWS, and this was a massive boil over at Optus Stadium, and something definitely doesn't feel right at GWS.
I don't know what's going on with the Giants at the moment. They can't even really blame it on injuries. They're not. There's a lot of teams doing it a lot harder than them at the moment, and their form just hasn't been up to scratch. They only kicked 3 goals to the game, and all of those came from free kicks. And the third of which was probably another one that another contentious one that probably shouldn't have been paid. So they're lucky to get that. But other than that, they didn't really show any signs of good form, really. The Swans were all over them. They had, what did you think of the game? Yeah,
it was very alarming for GWS. Sydney just controlled that game right from the start. They were as bad as GWS were. Sydney were quite good. But I think they've got serious issues, the Giants. I'm not sure what's going on there. I can't see them. You don't want to write them off, but geez, it's going to be tough for them to challenge for the flag. They're sitting 9th at the moment, but that score on the weekend was the equal lowest score ever, and that equaled their score in the grand final from last year as well. So not too sure what's going on there. They need, they've got West Coast this week at Optus Stadium, so it's going to be a tough challenge for them. So, but they need to get back on the winners list ASAP, and they'll be lucky. Well, they'll probably sneak into the finals, but they'll be lucky to challenge for the flag, I reckon.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there. I don't see them being much of a threat.
Yeah. We'll go to the votes for that game. So we go 1 vote to Josh Kelly, 2 votes to Jake Lloyd, and 3 votes to Luke Parker. Friday night game. The game that we mentioned before was between Geelong and Port Adelaide at Metricon. And yeah, as we said, Geelong looked unbelievable. Tom Hawkins in career best form, kicked 6 goals and was taking mark after mark, kicked more than Port Adelaide's score. It was a crazy game, wasn't it?
It's unbelievable. I really didn't think I wasn't surprised to see Port lose, but to see them lose the way they did, I couldn't believe it. They've been in such good form all year, such a dominating side, and Geelong just made them look, like a bottom 4 club. Do you think? I know you mentioned this to me earlier, but do you think if you stop Charlie Dixon, you stop Port Adelaide because he didn't do much?
Well, that's what it looked like, didn't it? Geelong had a plan to stop him, and they did, and he didn't get a sniff, and Port Adelaide didn't get a sniff either. So maybe that's the key to stopping Port, is to just nullify Dixon. Because it's shown pretty much every other game this season. Well, Port's won most of their games this season, and he's been quite good in all of them. So if they can, teams can stop Charlie, they can stop Port, I reckon. And I think if Port want to win the flag, they're going to need to have a backup plan to that. Don't you reckon?
They'll have to, because people are going to work them out now. They've been exposed. And other clubs are going to see that and jump all over it. If all you're going to do is stop Charlie, even if they're going to double team him, that's what they'll do. So,
correct.
Do you think if we could redo our mid-year All-Australian team, you'd swap Tom Hawkins to Charlie at this rate?
Oh. No, because that was probably Charlie's worst game for the season. It's probably his first real bad game for the season as well. So, look, you probably have to put Tom Hawkins in there somewhere, but I probably wouldn't take Charlie out for him. You'd probably maybe put Tom at sneak him in a forward pocket or something just to get him in there.
Just to squeeze him in,
Yeah, but Charlie, his season's been good enough to keep him in there. He just had one bad game, and I reckon he'll bounce back as well. Votes for that game, gave 1 vote to Cam Guthrie, 2 votes to Patrick Dangerfield, and 3 votes to Tom Hawkins. Saturday afternoon, we had North Melbourne and Brisbane at Metricon Stadium. And again, same old story for Brisbane. They snuck home with the win, but they just couldn't kick straight in front of goal.
It's a problem. It's definitely a problem. They've done it against too many clubs this year, and they did it last year themselves. I know it's a different year, but they did it last year themselves in the finals when it counted.
Yeah.
And a team like North shouldn't have been anywhere near Brisbane. Brisbane are a much better side, and North really brought the heat to them. And Brisbane, like you said, Brisbane missing as many chances as they did really kept North in the game. And
North had their chances to win it as well. And Zerha missed a real gettable shot late. And that would have put them within a couple of points. And who knows from there. North were with them throughout the whole match. Like, the margin wasn't big at all. And then I think everyone's seen it. The spray that Chris Fagan gave him at halftime was pretty good to see, wasn't it?
I love that. I love nothing more than an old-fashioned coach spray. Did you see the interview after the game? And they brought up the spray, and he goes, "Did you guys see that?"
Oh,
yeah. And then he questioned. He goes, "Oh, could you hear it?" I go, "No, there was no audio. It was just footage." He goes, "Oh, good." So it makes you wonder what he was saying, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, obviously, the players at the time, you don't want to hear it, but I think it's good to see the coach get fired up because it shows you how passionate he is about the club. Yeah,
absolutely. It was good to see. I think Chris Fagan's known as that calming, father figure at the club, and to see him let loose like that was good. It was refreshing. We'll go to the votes for that game. 1 vote to Lockie Neal, 2 votes to Dane Zorko, and 3 votes to Jed Anderson. The other game on the Saturday was Melbourne and Collingwood at the Gabba. And this was a fairly big surprise, margin-wise anyway.
It was an absolute shellacking. And I
Yeah.
love using that word, by the way, so I'm glad I got to use it. It was an absolute shellac. Collingwood made Melbourne look like a top 4 side. The way
Yep.
they just dominated. The second quarter, I think they had a 7-goal second quarter, and it just sort of, from there, the Pies never looked like bringing it back. And I don't know. I mean, they suffered a couple more injuries. You know, Ben Reid did a hamstring. Brody Mychek went off concussed, so he might miss another week potentially. It's not looking good at Collingwood.
Nah, it's another team with serious issues there. I know they've been absolutely decimated with injuries this season, but God, in previous seasons they've still had a lot of injuries and they've somehow been able to pull through it. But this season just looks different for them. Similar to the Giants, they'll probably just sneak into the finals, but whether they're going to challenge or not is a different story. But on the other side of that, Melbourne looked pretty good and they're making a charge for the finals, aren't they?
They're making a late charge, but they're looking convincing. I've never really been convinced by Melbourne, but the last few weeks that they've put together have looked really, really good. And they're starting to gel as a team, which shows they didn't have Max Gawn playing against the Pies, and even without the best ruckman in the comp, arguably, was phenomenal. So
100%. And that's probably Melbourne's best performance probably since 2018, I'd say.
Hands down. They haven't played that since.
Yeah.
But in saying that, Collingwood must be starting to get pretty desperate when they're in talks about bringing Mason Cox back into the side. So, things are pretty dire when that's happening.
Yeah, exactly right. They must be tanking already. But we'll go to the votes for that game. So we have 1 vote to Taylor Adams, 2 votes to Christian Petrarca, and 3 votes to Angus Brayshaw. All right, the Saturday night game was between Freo and Carlton at Optus Stadium, and Doctor, give me the news.
You've been waiting all weekend.
Honestly, what a kick! What a kick from there. Forget what happened. The game was. It was an absolute brutal contest from the start, and it was pretty low scoring, really wet conditions. But for Jack Newnes to kick it from there in those conditions, oh my God, it was it's incredible.
That kick was, I've got to say myself, that was unbelievable. That kick, the way it came off the boot, it was. I don't know. It couldn't have gone any more through the middle of this big sticks than it did. Like it was a perfect kick.
It hit it flush.
It will never be repeated. Not like he won't kick a ball that clean ever again in his life. That was perfect.
Do you think that's the best after the siren kick since Malcolm Blight?
It's definitely up there. From like memory off the top of my head, it has to be. It has to be. Yeah, I can't think of many others. Sam Lloyd for Richmond was pretty good a couple of years ago. I want to get into that though, but
Well, I think Robbie Gray's one a few weeks ago was probably regarded as the best, and then Jack Newnes has gone. He's gone and topped it. So
But in all seriousness, I do think unless I'm missing something from the top of my head, all I can think of, Jack Newnes is probably the best. Yeah, since Blighty's 80-meter bomb.
Yeah, it's. It was unbelievable. And then the celebrations when he kicked that, it just really, as a Carlton supporter, really warms your heart. And then to see Paddy Cripps just absolutely lose his mind in the celebrations was fantastic.
It's good for football as a whole.
Yeah.
It's good for football, unless you're a Freo supporter at the moment. But I do want to ask you about that. There was some umpiring decisions that were reviewed and questioned in regards to that final goal. Now, disregarding all the awful decisions that happened throughout the game, because I know Freo were gifted a couple of goals early in the game, but do you think that, because I still don't believe that downfield they paid against Andrew Brayshaw should have been downfield to begin with. I think they made that call. I think they got that call wrong. I'm not saying that won Carlton the game because, like I said, Freo were gifted a couple early. So it sort of evens itself out there. But what did you think about that free kick? Were you happy with it, or do you think it could have gone either way?
I think it's borderline. You see them get paid and you see them don't get paid. It's a real tough one. Like Doherty had already kicked the ball. It It's borderline. Like it's one of those things that, on a different day that probably doesn't get paid, but the way the umpiring was that night, they were literally paying everything. Yeah. And you can look back to that, like, you can isolate that incident all you want, but leading up to that, in that last quarter, like the 5 minutes leading up to that, there was some shocking free kicks going to both sides. So you just knew that the umpires were just going to pay absolutely everything. But yeah, for me, borderline. I think that could have gone either way.
Yeah, like in my eyes, like I said, I don't think it won Carlton the game. I mean, obviously it did, like, indirectly, but I think you can't put one kick to, being the deciding factor, especially, like I said, when there was some shocking free kicks. It gave Freo a couple of goals early in the game, and that you guys just got one back. It just happened to be after the siren from one of the most impossible angles.
And you would not expect anyone, well, definitely not Jack Newnes, to kick it from there. I mean, like, when I was watching it, I was like, he's not going to kick it from there. Like, I wasn't even, expecting anything from that. I was expecting him just to kick a point or maybe to fall short. But geez, when he kicked that, mate, I erupted. It was a complete shock that he kicked it from there.
He's a right footer as well.
Yeah.
He's a right footer. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's right footer, isn't he? So he wasn't even on the right angle for a right footer. And yeah, like you said, the celebrations, there's been videos all over the internet all weekend from Carlton supporters that were just going nuts behind their TVs, and rightfully so. Right. I mean, if it was your club, you'd be doing exactly the same. So I think it's, like I said, it's good for football to see those sort of things. There's not much good happening in the world at the moment, but seeing exciting moments like that sort of lift you up.
Exactly right. And yeah, the Blues needed to win that in any way possible just to stay in the hunt for the final. So much needed for them. But we'll go to the votes. So we gave 1 vote to Sam Walsh, 2 votes to Luke Ryan, and 3 votes to Ed Curnow. The Sunday games. So we'll start with the Dogs and Adelaide at Metricon Stadium. Same old for the Crows, another belting away from home anyway. And the Bulldogs' big guns are well and truly back.
Yeah. We say this every week, but I honestly run out of things to comment about the Crows. There's nothing to say about them. But yeah, from a Bulldog standpoint, the Bont was unbelievable. He was, I think, someone was telling me, I think in the first quarter, he was set to break Supercoach records for the amount of points he was getting in the just first quarter alone. And it shows why he's known as such a dominating figure in that club, and he proved to us all again why he's so good. But the Bulldogs, way too strong for an awful Adelaide.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're still winless, and you just don't know where their next win's going to come from. So it's, I don't know. Just imagine, like, we both support teams that have been right down the bottom before. But I think this is another level, isn't it?
Well, this is breaking records, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the most, like, the longest anyone's gone without a win in a season. Has to be. Just the way they're playing as well. It's just garbage. It's not convincing. They don't look like stealing a win off anybody.
Yeah.
So, although in saying that, Richmond and Carlton are still yet to play them. So knowing either of them, let's keep our fingers crossed.
I'll still be so nervous for that game. That's for sure.
Because you don't want to be the team that loses.
No way. Oh, I really don't want to play them. But
anyway, moving on.
But yeah, the votes for that game: 1 vote to Aaron Norton, 2 votes to Bailey Smith, and 3 votes to the Bont. The other Sunday game was between St Kilda and Essendon at the Gabba. Saints definitely bounced back in a big way, and the Bombers looking pretty mediocre. And it's the same old story for them. I know their supporters are getting pretty pissed off now. Where are they going? What's going on with the coaching situation? Why is Worsfold still there? It's a bit crazy at Bomberland at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions surrounding the Bombers at the moment. I do know that they are missing a plethora of players. They do have a lot of injuries at the moment, and good players as well. But even still, the depth that they have isn't convincing. The game style, to me, isn't very convincing. And I mean, this is their 4th game, in a row that they've lost. And it looks like probably another season they're going to go without playing finals if they keep it up at this rate. So,
well, I think they had a draw in that streak as well. So maybe not 4 in a row, but they haven't won in about 4 or 5 weeks.
So 4 in a row they haven't won then. I'll rephrase that. 4 in a row they haven't won.
Yeah, just before any Essendon supporters jump on us about that. So.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few. Don't worry. That's all they've got to cling on to at the moment is giving it to someone else. So.
That's all they do, isn't it? They just complain about other teams. Anyway, let's not get too into that. But in saying that, St Kilda did look pretty good and they did what they had to do. And, there's still a massive top 4 chance. So we'll see how they go. But we'll go to the votes for that game. We gave 1 vote to Max King, 2 votes to Dylan Shield, and 3 votes to Zach Jones. The late game on the Sunday was between West Coast and Hawthorn at Optus Stadium, and the Eagles just keep doing their thing up there. They've made it 7 in a row now, and the other side of that, Hawthorn are just bottoming out, aren't they?
I think, I know we've spoken about it before, but I think Hawthorn do need to come to terms with the fact that they might have to start a rebuild. Yeah, they're, like you said, bottoming out is probably the perfect way to describe how they're going at the moment. And I think they've got to just come to terms with it and, start it sooner rather than later. Yeah,
they have to. They just need to accept it. I know that Hawthorn's never been a team to accept it, but they have to now. And it gets compounded by the ACL injury to James Sicily, which is a huge, huge blow for them. And he'll, most likely be out for all of 2021 as well. So that's huge for them, isn't it?
That's massive. Sicily is such an important player. We spoke about it already. He was stiff, probably not to make our mid-year All-Australian team, but he probably was looking like making All-Australian at the end of the season. So he was in very, very good form. He always is. He's always been a good player, Sicily. To see him do an ACL, and he's going to be out for an extended period of time now, and it's not good for Hawthorn fans.
No. But we'll go to the votes for that game. So we have 1 vote to Tom Mitchell, 2 votes to Andrew Gaff, and 3 votes to Liam Ryan. The Monday night game between Richmond and the Gold Coast at the Gabba. And this was an interesting game, this one. It was pretty low scoring, pretty close, but a bit too much class in the end from the Tigers.
Yeah, well, it was, like you said, it was a low-scoring affair. But it's the same old story for Richmond. We probably dominated 3/4 of the game, but just couldn't mount a score on the board. First quarter, I really reckon we should have been 6 goals up at quarter time. Instead, we went in with 1 goal apiece and we were tied. So probably wasted some opportunities there. But in saying that, Gold Coast had some absolute young guns show how good they're going to be in the future with Jack Newnes and Noah Anderson. They were honestly unbelievable. I think 26 and 27 disposals for each other each. It was great. So, but one question I did want to ask you, and we've already spoken about it a little bit, but other than the whack to the guts that Lynch gave Sam Collins, do you like seeing that full forward, full back rivalry where they're giving it to each other? Are you looking forward to seeing more contests like that where you could just tell they really don't like each other? Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And I think what everyone's going to be looking forward to is when these two play each other again and seeing how they go. So I love it. I love that. The old-fashioned full forward, full back rivalry. It's great. It's something we don't see enough of these days. So absolutely bring it back. Yeah, I love it. I think just keep it within the rules and all fair play to me. But, like you said before, Richmond probably outclassed them a little bit in the end. Didn't help Gold Coast with coming off a 5-day break. I think they came off. We had 9 days, so we're probably a bit better rested. We got away with the win, which was good. Any win's a good win. And finished the Festival of Footy. That's it. So that ends the footy frenzy. So... we'll get into the votes for that game. We gave 1 vote to Camden McIntosh, 2 votes to Jack Newnes, and 3 votes to Trent Cotchin. And that is round 12 done. And we'll get straight into round 13, as we've been doing the last few weeks. So it all starts on Friday night, primetime football, Gold Coast and Carlton at TIO Stadium in Darwin. And it is also... Sir Doug Nicholls round as well. So celebrating the Indigenous players in the game. So it's going to be a great weekend of footy. And this is a massive Friday night game for both teams. Probably more for Carlton now. Gold Coast, you
hard to mount a case for them to play finals, but the Blues are in the mix. So it's a huge game. And both teams, still have to win this to give themselves a chance at it. So really looking forward to this one. What are your thoughts on this?
It's pretty much exactly what you said. I think it's going to be super exciting. Both teams, in my eyes, are still a chance. And the Suns have the ability to win games. They've been on a bit of a losing streak as of late, so they're due for a win. And Carlton, after the win they had, that's going to inspire them to, surely that's going to inspire them to have another win this week. And hopefully, for the first time this year, it won't be a close game. You might be able to win by a few goals other than 3 points. But I think it'll be a really good game. And especially for some of I know both teams have a couple of Indigenous players out there that I know will be really stoked to play in such a special round for them.
Well, so Eddie Betts is probably the marquee one there. There's already been a bit talked about that with him. And then the Blues are hoping to get Jack Martin back as well. That'd be huge not only for the team, but for the round itself. And then on the other side, the Suns are hopefully getting Harbrow back. So it's going to be a good game, this one. I think, as much as I'd love it not to be close, it's been, we've had heart attacks every week as Carlton supporters, but I think this will be a pretty close contest and it'll go right down to the wire. And I think the Blues just again. Yeah,
I'm tipping the Blues as well. They're in pretty good form at the moment. If they get Jack Martin back as well as Pitnet, bit of Pitto porn, I think they'll get the job done.
Yeah, that's it. Love Pitto. All right, we'll move on to Saturday. We've got the Western Bulldogs up against Melbourne at Metricon. This will be a really, really good game. Both teams coming off big wins. One of the games of the round, not the game of the round, but one of, for sure.
Definitely one of the games. They're both in, like you said, coming off similar margined wins, both in pretty good form, both fighting for a final spot. So everything's putting towards it being a really, really good game. I'm excited to see what the two midfields do against each other. They've both got some young midfields, with Bont, and you've got Baslenka in there for the Dogs, and then Melbourne's got Petrarca, Brayshaw, Clayton Oliver. So there's some good young talent from both sides. I think it'll be a good game. I'm going to go the Dogs. I think with Aaron Norton back on the side up forward, he's hard to stop. So I'm going to tip the Dogs myself by a couple of goals.
Yeah, I'm going Dogs as well. I think it'll be a really good contest, but I think they'll be too classy in the end. Moving on, so Port Adelaide and Hawthorn at Adelaide Oval. Perfect opportunity for Port to bounce back, and I think they'll bounce back in a big way.
Yeah, like we said before, Hawthorn are definitely bottoming out, and it's at Adelaide Oval, so everything's pointing towards Port Adelaide absolutely having a field day. And Charlie Dixon, I reckon he's going to go nuts.
Oh, he could go nuts. He could kick an absolute bag after a poor showing last week. So, and if he does, Port will win. I think they'll win quite comfortably. I think it would be close to 10 goals this one. So, sorry, Hawthorn, but your time is done. That's for sure.
Yeah, your time is up. Port's time is now. I'm tipping Port Adelaide as well.
Me too. All right, let's move on to the Dreamtime game on Saturday night, Essendon and Richmond. I'll let you take over for this one.
Arguably the biggest game of the year, other than Grand Final day. Absolute spectacle. No. In all seriousness, it is a big spectacle. Really important game, and it means a lot to all the players involved. But in terms of the game itself, it's really a must-win for Essendon if they want to if they want to play finals, if they want to stay in the race. But in saying that, I do think Richmond also need to win, but win convincingly, because we've had a couple of wins where, same as the Gold Coast game, we probably should have blown them out of the water early, and we didn't, and we wasted opportunities. We still got the win in the end, but I think if we're going to play Essendon, who are probably struggling a bit at the moment, we need to sort of take advantage of that. And if we want to be considered a real threat, we've got to start trying to blow teams out of the water a bit. That's just my personal view on it. But yeah, I'm tipping Richmond as well, and I think we will win by at least 5 goals. Yeah,
I think Richmond comfortably for mine as well. The other game on Saturday night is Freo and Sydney at Optus Stadium. Both teams, they're down the bottom of the ladder, but they're both showing plenty. And I think it'll be a really good battle between them. And Jesse Hogan potentially back for Freo as well. So it'll be a really good game, this one. They're both not playing for much, but I think it'll be a good contest.
And that's huge for Freo if they get Jesse Hogan back. It means Taberner doesn't have to do all the work down there by himself anymore.
Yeah.
But like you said, great battle. Both in pretty good form at the moment. Probably a shame they didn't have this sort of form earlier in the year. They could have been having a run for finals with the sort of form they're in. But I think it'll be a pretty exciting game all in all. I think I'm going to have to tip Freo purely because they're at Optus Stadium.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to go with Freo.
Yeah, Freo for mine as well.
Also, just quickly, I want to mention as well about the Swans. I did hear Sydney mention in the weeks that they're hoping and looking to get Buddy back before the end of the year, which just as a Swans supporter and as an AFL supporter, I can't wait. I hope Buddy gets back and plays, even if he plays 3 games. It's just to see Buddy back in the field.
100%. Yeah,
he's
absolutely
arguably the best player of the last decade.
Yeah,
to have him back would be phenomenal. So.
Yeah, it'd be great for footy just to have Buddy back. And you forget that Buddy hasn't played a game this season as well. So yeah, it'd be good to see him back in action, hopefully before the end of the season. So cool. All right, let's move on to Sunday. Adelaide and Geelong at Adelaide Oval. I'm just going to go straight to my tip and say Geelong for this one. We're not going to mount a case for Adelaide, are we?
No. This is definitely 4 points in the bag for the Cats. Adelaide have been kind of competitive at home, but there's not a chance they're beating Geelong. I mean, but in saying that, now I've said that, they'll probably, who knows, but they won't beat Geelong, especially not in the form they're in. Do you reckon at this point Adelaide's tanking a bit? Or do you think they're just that bad?
I think they're just that bad, to be honest. In saying that, they've been playing their kids all season. So, you could argue that they've been tanking since round 1. But it's probably tactical tanking, So they're playing their kids. They're doing what they need to do and, really starting from the bottom. So, but in saying that, I think, we're not mounting a case for Adelaide in this game, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
All right, well, let's move on to the pressure point match of the round. It is Brisbane and St Kilda at the Gabba. Both teams in the top 4. And I think the winner of this game will definitely cement a top 4 spot come season's end.
Most definitely. Brisbane are currently sitting equal top at the moment with Port Adelaide, only down by percentage. And in terms of points, they're at the top right with Port Adelaide. So I think if they win this, 100% locks them in for top 4. Saints, on the other hand, are in and out of the top 4, and they really do need this. But the form that they're coming out of from the Essendon game on the weekend, probably put them in good stead, especially if they can kick straight. And if the Lions are inaccurate, like they have been, who knows? Yeah,
exactly right. But I think being back at the Gabba for Brisbane helps. I think they'll win just because it's at the Gabba.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I'm going to go St Kilda just. I think St Kilda might sneak one. Yeah.
All right. Big call from you, but we love it here. We love it on the podcast. Big calls, don't we?
That's right.
All right. The late game on the Sunday, it's West Coast and GWS at Optus Stadium. And, it's tough to mount a case for GWS in the form that they've been in. And West Coast come for their 8th win in a row, and it's their last game in Perth as well. So they'd want to send that off well. I can't see them not winning this.
No, exactly right. I mean, like you said, it's their last game in Perth. We all know what happened early in the season when they were in Queensland. So they'll definitely want to make sure they get a win here where they can almost guarantee it. But in saying that, this would normally be considered one of the games of the round. But with the form the Giants have been in, it's just, like you said, it's too hard to mount a case for them. And I'm tipping West Coast by at least 4 goals, if not more. Yeah,
me too. I think they'll win quite comfortably there. Last game of the round, it's on the Monday night. Collingwood and North Melbourne at the Gabba. And this is a must-win for the Pies if they want any chance at the finals this season, let alone, the premiership. So they have to win this game. If they lose to North, they're in serious trouble. And that pretty much writes them off for the season if they can't get up here. But North are showing a fair bit lately, so who knows what could happen in this one.
Yeah, well, North have been playing a lot of youngsters, but they seem to be getting the job done. Playing they like you said, they brought it to Brisbane on the weekend. So what's to stop them from doing it again to Collingwood, who have been down in form? And and not looking like really pushing, far in the finals, if finals at all. So I'm still going to tip Collingwood. I still think Collingwood are a better side than North, but I think it'll be close. I reckon North will make it another interesting game.
Yeah, for sure. I reckon it'll be close, but I think I think they've just got too much to play for. I think they'll just get up there. And that is round 13 done. Some exciting games to look forward to there. A bit of normality in the scheduling of it. Starts on Friday, then ends on the Monday. So be a bit different to what we're used to the last few weeks, but should be good. But we'll move into our debate question for the week. Who would you rather have at full forward, Tom Hawkins or Charlie Dixon? It's a tough question. Check out our Instagram story for that. Make sure you vote, and we'll post the results up on our social media. Who would you rather, Quinn?
Tom Lynch. Oh, sorry, no. Out of those two, I think with it's hard to say. Charlie Dixon's just presence is enormous because he's just such a he's just a big force. But the way Tom Hawkins has played the last few weeks, kicking 6 on the weekend, I think I have to go the Tomahawk. He's in the best form of his career at the moment. Yeah,
I'm going to go Hawkins just. It's a real tough one. Really, really tough one. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's responses on that because it's actually a really tough question. So, but yeah, make sure you check out our Insta story and vote there. But that is us done. That is us done for this week. The footy frenzy is over. Tom Lynch is a wanker. I had to sneak that in somewhere.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
But yeah, that is all we've got time for this episode. And as we say every week, make sure you leave us a review, subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate all the support, and we can't thank you guys enough. And have a great weekend. Stay at home, and we hope your team wins.
Pressure point, pressure point, pressure point, pressure right, pressure right.